Today on Playmakers, with KU teams all on the road this week, we bring you the action happening away from Lawrence. And with the NBA under the microscope this week, we break down the financial scandal making headlines across the league. And later, we take you to the sand volleyball courts for another Playmakers Mic'd Up. I'm Emma Hale, your host for today, and welcome back to Playmakers. It's going to be a busy weekend in Lawrence as head men's basketball coach Bill Self has locked down some serious recruits to visit campus. Today, Alex Constanza, Josh Irving, and Trent Perry will all be in town. Next up, we swing out to the fairways where both the KU men's and women's golf teams have been busy making some moves. Playmakers Kara Lyons is live with us to tee it up and give us the latest. Kara, how's it going out there?
That's right, Emma. It's beautiful weather here and just in time for golf season, which teed off this past Monday at the Folds of Honor Collegiate in Michigan. Starting off with the men's, they had their best program finish, tying for third place and coming in at 11 over par. Breaking it down individually, Will King had a top 10 finish, going 1 over par, alongside his teammate Arthur Carlier, who's a freshman. Now, not only does this freshman have a top 10 finish, but he also had a birdie in the 18th hole, which allowed the Jayhawks to go from 4th to 3rd place. Just an impressive performance by the new Jayhawk. Rounding it out, Luke Connor had his third top 20 finish in a Jayhawk uniform. They will travel to Cincinnati for the Bearcat Invitational next week. The women's side, they had a strong start, but they just weren't able to seal the deal. They came in at 8th place, going 32 over. Amy Deacock was the star golfer for the Jayhawks, and she recorded her 13th top 20 finish, coming in at 14th place. She had 6 birdies, which helped contribute to her 6 over par finish. Following suit was her teammate Lila Lauterbaugh, who recorded her 11th top 20 finish, and she came in 16th place. The ladies have about a week to prepare before they head to Wolcott, Colorado for the Golf Week Red Sky Classic. They won last year, so safe to say that the stakes are pretty high. Now, golf wasn't the only one on the road this week. Emma, what other teams are seeking a win in their away column?
Kara, you know I'm rooting for all teams in crimson and blue no matter the sport. Now, it's been a quiet week in Lawrence as Jayhawks are out chasing wins across the country. Playmakers Addie Rabel has more on Jayhawks on the road.
That's right, Emma. The golf teams weren't the only KU teams that hit the road this past week. Not one Jayhawk played at home, and I'm here to break down what all went down this past week on the road. The KU women's soccer team traveled to New Haven, Connecticut to take on the Yale Bulldogs this past Sunday. KU has been off to a tear to start off their 2025 campaign, and clearly nothing has changed as they beat the Bulldogs 4-0 in dominant fashion. Kansas held them to just 3 shots all game, and goalies Sophie Dawn and Addison Toshner combined for their 3rd shutout of the season. Head coach Nate Lee won his 100th career game along with Livy Moore scoring her 2nd career goal as a Jayhawk. The team now improves to 5-0-2 and are ranked number 22 in the country. KU will look to keep the road wins coming as they match up against Liberty this Sunday in Lynchburg, Virginia. KU volleyball is in South Dakota this weekend competing in the South Dakota tournament. The Jayhawks swept this entire match, tackling Florida Gulf Coast University in 3 sets. They were led by Grace Nelson and Rianne Swanson, who each finished with double-digit kills. Nelson had a season high with 18 kills, and Aurora Papak shut FGCU's offense down, tallying a team high of 6 blocks. FGCU only hit 135 and had 21 errors on the day. Just an overall dominant win by the Jayhawks, and I personally don't expect anything to change this weekend. KU will play again against Green Bay with opening serve set for 4 p.m. and will round out the tournament playing South Dakota at 5 p.m. Shifting over into men's play, KU football traveled to Columbia to take on the Missouri Tigers in the classic Border War showdown. These two familiar foes haven't played each other since 2011 after Missouri left the Big 12, and boy, this game did not disappoint. In front of a sold-out Ferret Field, Kansas jumped to a 21-6 lead thanks to Jalen Daniels' arm and a scoop and score by the defense. Jalen Daniels threw for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns, and redshirt senior Deshaun Hanika had a breakout game as he went for 74 yards and had a pair of touchdowns of his own. Unfortunately, the second half was just a much different story as KU could not figure out a way to successfully run the ball. The Jayhawks had a combined total of 31 rushing yards compared to the Tigers' 261, excuse me. Mizzou ended up scoring 14 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to beat KU 42-31. And while it's still a little ways away, keep an eye out for the men and women's cross country teams as they open their seasons in Columbia, Missouri at the Gan Creek Classic on September 26th. The Jayhawks are rolling, and partial credit goes to the ones calling the shots. Great coaches are fundamental parts to a great team, and sometimes they don't fly far from the nest. Playmaker Zach Newkirk is here to highlight some former Jayhawk athletes that now have a place on the sidelines. Zach?
Exactly right, Addie. Now, you may remember last week, Jude Gussie gave us a thorough report of former football Jayhawks now playing in the NFL. Today, I'm here to inform you on some more Hawks that have spread their wings, but not in the realm of football. While many KU students recognize names of coaches like Bill Self, Matt Ulmer, Lance Leipold, and Nate Lee, what you might not know is that some former KU athletes have also returned to the sidelines, this time as coaches. Let's take a look at where some former KU athletes are now in their coaching careers, specifically in the game of basketball. Jacques Vaughn, the former KU point guard and 1996 Big 8 Conference Player of the Year, was a fan favorite in the mid-90s. After a successful NBA career and time as a head coach in the league, Vaughn has returned to Lawrence to serve under Bill Self. He will bring a familiar face and a host of basketball experience to the locker room this season. In addition to Vaughn, former player and member of the 2008 National Championship team Jeremy Case is also an assistant under Coach Self. Succeeding on the court and in the classroom, Case was a 2-time academic All-Big 12 honoree. Case originally worked as a video coordinator in 2016, but was named an assistant coach in 2021. Shortly after, he won another national title, this time on the sidelines instead of playing on the court. Lastly, this past June, Coach Bill Self announced that former KU forward KJ Adams would be staying in Lawrence as a member of the coaching staff for the upcoming season. Adams was a member of the 2022 National Championship team and a valuable player throughout his time at KU. He will continue to contribute to his now alma mater, and I'm sure many fans are happy to see him remain in Lawrence after he suffered a heartbreaking injury in his final game last year. From running the court to helping call the shots, these Jayhawks have come full circle. Now, speaking of things coming full circle, like Addie mentioned, the rivalry of KU and Missouri football finally returned last Saturday, and I heard some Playmakers made the trip to Columbia. Sound right, Emma?
You heard right, Zach. Myself and a few other Playmakers made the trip across the border, and let me just say, the rivalry was alive and well. Playmakers Jacob Johnson was there to capture the scenery of it all. Take a look.
Thanks, Emma, and welcome back here. KU Mizzou, the first time in 14 years, like you see, game's about to start. Today we're going to be asking some fans, Mizzou and KU, their honest opinions on each other.
Bunch of inbred idiots! Let's go, Kansas fans! Sleep with socks on!
And how do you feel about having the border war finally back here in Columbia, Missouri?
Can I cuss? It's amazing! KU!
It's been kind of crazy. I thought for sure I would get more hate, but honestly it's been all right. But I got a feeling it's going to get a little rowdy.
It's a long time overdue. I think we've all kind of been waiting for this game, and it's probably the biggest game that we've had in a decade. So you couldn't miss this one. You couldn't miss this game today.
That's horrible, bro. We beat you guys in basketball. We're definitely beating you in football. I'm just here for my family, okay? I'm here for my family. This thing's a piece of shit, just like basketball.
Does it mean more in the SEC? No, it means fucking less. Bunch of fucking squirrel fuckers. We're here to tear them to pieces.
Rock chalk, baby.
Hey, just one thing to say. When you mess with the Tiger, you get the stripes.
So that was a lot of great answers. We know how KU fans feel. We know how Mizzou fans feel. Back to you, Emma.
Thanks, Jacob. Don't go anywhere. We have the latest from the pro sports world when we return.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
Breaking news from the pro sports. Washington Commanders running back Austin Eckler suffered a torn Achilles injury in last night's game against the Packers. Eckler is suspected to be out for the remainder of the season. Over to the boxing world, Canelo Alvarez takes on Terrence Crawford in a show-stopping matchup. Playmakers' Eli Greenwald is here with a closer look at it all. Eli.
Tomorrow night, the entire world of boxing will stop and watch one of the biggest fights of the last decade. Saul Canelo Alvarez will be taking on Terrence Crawford for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Canelo is favored in the bout and Crawford is the underdog, as Alvarez is the current undisputed super middleweight champion, and he was the first ever to achieve that feat in the history of boxing. Now, Terrence Crawford will have a tough task tomorrow night, as Canelo is widely considered to be the best boxer in the world and one of the best to ever tie up the gloves. Crawford is also moving up 2 whole weight classes for this fight. He usually fights in the junior middleweight division at 154 pounds, where he's the WBA champion, but now he's coming into the champs division at 168 pounds. If you take a look at the tail of the tape, Canelo definitely has the advantage in terms of experience with a record of 63-2-2 with 39 knockouts, but Crawford has never been defeated with a record of 41 wins and 0 losses with 31 knockouts. Neither fighter has ever been knocked down, let alone knocked out, so my guess is that this fight's going to go the distance. This fight will be available to stream on Netflix for millions to watch live. The last time a boxing fight was live on Netflix was back in November when Jake Paul defeated Mike Tyson, which had a viewership of a whopping 108 million people and is the most streamed global event ever. So this fight should have a pretty big audience. The undercard tomorrow night is expected to begin at 8 p.m. Central Time, with the main event expected to begin around 10. For boxing fans, tomorrow can't come soon enough, as 2 of the best fighters of the 21st century will step into the ring with all the belts on the line for a bout that everyone has been waiting for. Will Canelo keep his titles, or will we see Terrence Crawford become the new undisputed champion? Emma, what's your prediction for tomorrow night's super fight?
Well, Eli, it is hard to pick, but if I had to choose, I'm leaning on Crawford to pull off the upset. Either way, fans are in for an epic night of boxing. Switching over to the NBA, and no, we are not talking about the scores or the highlights. We are diving into the financial scandal that has the league on alert. Playmakers' Jude Gussie is here to break down all the details.
Thank you, Emma, and allow me to explain. In the era of the NBA second apron salary penalties, teams are saying goodbye to homegrown talent like Karl Anthony Towns and breaking up tried and true championship contenders like the Boston Celtics. In an attempt to avoid the second apron, Clippers owner Steve Ballmer and superstar Kawhi Leonard may be tied up in potentially the biggest NBA financial scandal in league history. After 7 months of digging, sports reporter Pablo Torre shared on his podcast that he believes in 2021 Steve Ballmer invested $50 million in a startup company named Aspiration. The company then signed Kawhi Leonard to a $28 million no-show endorsement contract. A deal where one is not required to promote or appear for the company at all is unheard of, especially at a price tag of $28 million. Torre reports that an anonymous Aspiration employee informed him that this was a way for the Clippers to pay Leonard more money without receiving the penalties of the second apron. Aspiration has since filed for bankruptcy, and the former CEO has pled guilty to fraud charges, prompting many to demand action from the league.
Again, the public at times reaches conclusions that later turn out to be completely false. The answer is we're not a court of law at the end of the day either, that we have broad authority to look at all information and to weigh it accordingly.
Like Silver said, nothing has been proven, but if the allegations are true, the punishments will be severe. Now, we've seen some funny business surrounding deals before. In 2000, the Minnesota Timberwolves arranged an under-the-table agreement with star Joe Smith and were dealt a massive punishment that included a voided contract, the loss of 5 first-round picks, fines, and suspensions for owner Glenn Taylor and general manager Kevin McHale. These punishments derailed their future and made it nearly impossible for the Wolves to build a contending team around superstar Kevin Garnett. The NBA has hired an outside firm to conduct their investigation, and we can expect more updates soon. Now, I'm no lawyer, and neither are any of us playmakers. However, keeping it in the NBA, Ben Vaskov and Jack Kenna are going to take a look at some of the free agent contracts that have been recently signed around the league, legally.
That's right, Jude. NBA season is officially in the dog days of the offseason. With training camp starting in a few weeks, there are a lot of new players and new situations this season. Let's waste no time. Ben, what's the first player you're talking about today?
I'm talking about the two-time NBA champion Kevin Durant, who was traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets in the offseason as a part of a 7-team trade. My issue with this, the Rockets are known for killing players, in my opinion. They always seem to fall short. They lost the Warriors, the 7th-seeded Warriors, might I add, in the postseason, and I just don't think that this is a good trade for them.
Well, if any player can help them make the Western Conference Finals in the NBA Championship, it's going to be Kevin Durant, arguably a top 10 player of all time. My first player, Miles Turner. He left the Indianapolis Pacers in the offseason to join the Milwaukee Bucks. He was a huge part of the Pacers' run to the NBA Finals a season ago. My question is, nobody thought this was possible. When it happened, the entire NBA world was on standstill.
Yeah.
Milwaukee had to waive Damian Lillard. So that's why it was financially possible for them to bring in Miles Turner. And I think Miles Turner does help the Milwaukee Bucks stay competitive.
Yeah, I do too. My next one is Josh Giddey. He just re-signed a 4-year, $100 million contract. The issue is the Bulls and Josh Giddey were apart for 2 months on this deal. The Bulls wanted $20 million. Josh Giddey wanted $30. They met in the middle at $25. I don't really think it's going to be all that great for Chicago. Defensively, he struggles, in my opinion. So
yeah, I agree. It's a sticky situation there in Chicago. The last player, Bradley Beal. Let's be honest. The experiment in Phoenix did not work. It wasn't the place for Bradley Beal, but that doesn't mean he can't still contribute. He finds himself as a 32-year-old in a good situation in Los Angeles. Pending the investigation with Kawhi Leonard, I think it will give him a chance to compete for the title.
Agreed.
That's all the time that we have today. NBA training camp starts up in 2 weeks, and tip-off is officially less than 2 months away. Emma, back to you.
Thanks, boys. You may remember Playmakers' Tyler Brewer's segment on NIL from last week. This week, we are diving into some of the players who are cashing big, literally. Playmakers' Ulysia Parker breaks down some of the players already surpassing the $1 million mark.
Well, Emma, in a world where college athletes are not just being compensated, but getting huge brand deals and big paydays, NIL is changing the game for college athletics. Here's a highlight on a few players who have just surpassed $1 million in NIL valuation. Starting strong in the Big 12, we have Houston quarterback Connor Wigman. The redshirt junior transferred last season from Texas A&M, where he committed in 2021. Starting off his NIL resume with Sawgrass Fishing Rods in 2022, Wigman has also signed with EA Sports and has done a collection of deals with both universities. Since the big transfer, Wigman is estimated to surpass a $1 million NIL valuation with the Cougars this season. Now, going to the opposite side of Texas, over in Lubbock, we have redshirt senior Baron Morton, who is the quarterback at Texas Tech University. Morton's NIL resume mainly consists of the Red Raiders NIL collective called the Matador Club, and through Texas Tech, he is set to surpass a $1 million NIL valuation this season. And finally, highlighting an athlete who has yet to see any action on the college floor is Arkansas commit Malik Thomas. Thomas is an overtime elite guard in the class of 25 who averaged 31.9 points during the elite's regular season. With deals from overtime and becoming an official Rock Nation athlete in 2024, Thomas is one of the first Arkansas commits to reach the 1 million mark before ever touching the Razorback courts. This is just a taste of some of the athletes making big NIL moves this season. In fact, Playmakers' Gabriel Steigers has some of the other big names in sports this year, specifically surrounding the MLB. Gabe, over to you.
Thanks, Ulysia. And like yourself, I'm here to shine some light on some major names in sports, specifically regarding the baseball diamond this season. Now, I'm going to predict some awards, and I could just tell you who I think is going to win each award, the favorite, but you might already know that, so I'm going to give you the favorite and a guy you might not know is in the mix, a sleeper pick, if you will. Leading off is the American League Rookie of the Year, where Nick Kurtz is the obvious favorite, but a more under-the-radar guy is the Royals' Noah Cameron. The lefty has done an exceptional job at limiting base runners and has helped keep the Royals' playoff hopes alive for now. Over in the National League, what Braves backstop Drake Baldwin is doing has him as the betting favorite for the Rookie of the Year, but the Brewers' Isaac Collins has quietly been a big presence in a very potent lineup, sporting some highly impressive on-base numbers. Now, the AL Cy Young, who else but Tarek Skubal, who was vying for back-to-back years taking home the award. That said, excuse me, there, Aroldis Chapman is out of his mind this year. The 37-year-old is still throwing 100-plus with ease, and even though a closer hasn't won the award since 2003, I'm not kidding when I say he's having one of the most impressive relief pitcher seasons ever. In the NL, Paul Skeens looks like a shoo-in to take home what will likely be the first of many Cy Youngs, but Nick Pivetta has been nails for the Padres all year long. He's quietly having the best season of his career and has anchored the San Diego rotation. Now, for the big dogs in the AL. This one isn't much of a sleeper, but I want to talk about Cal Raleigh because in my opinion, the voters will select Aaron Judge to take home his third MVP. But what Raleigh is doing as a catcher is unbelievable. He's the only full-time catcher ever to hit more than 50 homers in a season. He also just happens to be an incredible defender behind the dish. Talk about value. If I had a spot on the writers' ballot, you better bet I'm writing down the big dumper. And finally, I don't have a sleeper here. The NL MVP, it belongs to Shohei Ohtani. He hits, he pitches, and he probably does both better than your favorite player. Even despite injuries keeping him off the mound full-time, he's still the most valuable player in the National League. Just look at the numbers and the pay stubs. Emma, am I right here?
If Shohei Ohtani is the GOAT, yes, Gabe, you are. Next up, after the break, we have a somewhat controversial roundtable, top 5 plays, and another Playmakers mic'd up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Next up, we are diving into some of the calls from the college football world that has everyone talking. Playmakers Emily Sutter, Colton Kennan, and Grant Shear join us for this week's Controversial Calls Roundtable. Let's hear it.
Welcome back to Roundtable this week. I'm Emily Sutter here with Colton Kennan and Grant Shear, and we are taking a look at some controversial plays from college football this week. And I'm here to tell you the rules on the field, and we're going to see what calls were missed or probably right. So, Colton and Grant, let's start off with Northern Colorado and Colorado State. We've got Carver Cheeks running into the end zone, and at this point it looks like he makes the catch, but the officials actually ruled this incomplete. Rule on the field is that the receiver must maintain possession of the ball and maintain that control into the ground. Ball comes loose and touches the ground, it's incomplete, but it kind of looks like that he keeps it close and maintains it the whole time. What do you guys think?
Absolutely a catch. We see this all the time in the NFL and in college football. He has his leg down on the ground. Yes, it looked like he bobbled a little, but it didn't really look like he touched the ball on the ground. And once his leg is down, it's a complete pass.
I think he kind of used his body and the ground together to get it. I mean, definitely close, and the angle doesn't do justice, but I think that's an incompletion, unfortunately. And I mean, they ended up losing the game.
And that costed them the game. That costed them the game right there.
Absolutely. If you think it was from maybe another angle, do you think it would have been different? Do you
that
think
is
they would have
weird
got
that that's
it?
like the main angle that was shown because it doesn't show the front of his body at all, where, like you said, Grant, he might be using his body. But like I said, you see that all the time in college football and in the NFL, so.
I just think definitely one of those calls where probably got it right. And they lose the game because of it, but
brutal way to lose.
Yeah,
very brutal way
seriously, that will cost you. Absolutely. We're going to take a look now at number 2. This is from our own KU in Mizzou. Jalen Daniels, here he's going to go here. He fumbles the ball, actually, and Mizzou players are trying to pick it up. But as you can kind of see, the Mizzou player bats the ball forward, which actually is illegal. You can only do that backwards. If overturned, the ball would have been returned to KU and a 10-yard penalty would have been issued for Mizzou. So, obviously, this is our own team. How do we feel about this? That could have cost KU the whole game.
Yeah.
Listen, this happens every single time there's a fumble on the ground. Everyone is diving on the field intentionally or unintentionally. The ball is going to get batted one way or the other. Unfortunately for Kansas, the ball went to the end zone. It was a safety, but that happens every single time there's a fumble on the ground.
And I'd like to disagree because I think that is a very obvious push to the end zone. Like, very obvious.
But someone else was diving and moving the ball.
But the player runs up and smacks it straight into the end zone. I think, and it makes it even worse that it's against Mizzou, but just an awful way to get a safety right there.
I was going to say, I think it hits a little bit deeper since it's a little bit of our rivalry there, but...
And this officiating crew is in some hot water as well, not even just with this call.
Absolutely. This crew is actually suspended for next week's games, not on this play, but for a different play. So, possibly some missed calls throughout this entire game, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that just plays into it. I mean, that's a brutal missed call right there.
A great argument for y'all's case, or for Grant's case, I should say, on that
with
it was
him.
illegal.
I'll stick with Grant. Yeah. I love it. So, after this one, we're going to take a look at this next play. It's a little bit more obvious. This call's probably right, but I love your opinions on this one. Florida's Brendan Betts spits on South Florida's Cole Skinner after this play. This is with 2 minutes left in the game. Betts is ejected and costs Florida a 15-yard penalty. Florida loses. So, kind of no questions on this ruling, but should he have been, further punishment? Obviously, it's just ejection, but we see this in the NFL, and a lot of players get fined or suspended. So what do we think?
I mean, like you said, they got him on camera spitting. Like, that's 4K. But I think they should follow up and maybe miss some games because of that. I mean, there's no room for that in collegiate sports. So
I was so happy when Florida lost this game because if you're spitting on another player, it's happening. We saw it against the Cowboys and Eagles. Like, what is going on with this? But like you said, Emily, Carter got fined over $55,000. You can't fine college athletes. So like you said, Grant, maybe a suspension, maybe something else. But Florida ultimately lost that. They're going to fall in the rankings. So I don't know what the further punishment would be, but I feel like there definitely should be a further punishment, not just 1 game suspension.
Yeah. How many weeks do you think he should miss?
I don't know about that. This hasn't really happened a lot in college athletics, or I feel like it's not really common for a player to spit on another player.
You don't see that.
Yeah, you don't see that too much.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe with the world of NIL, though, at some point, maybe we will see fines for college players. Who knows? But I had a lot of fun this week. We had some interesting calls, and we have a lot to look forward to next week for college football. Emma, what do you think could have went the other way?
Thanks, Emily. What's up, guys? My name's Jack, and welcome back to NFL Breakdown. And today, we're talking about the young rookie, J.J. McCarthy, and his performance on Monday night. But first, we're going to start with some not so good that McCarthy did, and that is this interception right here. Quarterback 101, when you're throwing an out route, you can't be late, and you cannot throw it behind your receiver. Right there, that's clearly behind Jefferson. Intercepted, taken to the house, but McCarthy showed poise. And watch this play call right here. They're going to have Naylor come in and run an in, and Jefferson's going to run an in right behind him. Naylor's trying to draw out the defense, and Jefferson's going to be open. The Vikings actually don't do a good job of that, but J.J. McCarthy throws a great throw into this tight window. Look, Naylor's right there. Justin Jefferson's only like 2 yards behind him, but that is a great throw from McCarthy for a touchdown. And then here's an even better throw right here. This is man, and you'll tell this is man because he's going to run into the flats. This guy is manned up with Aaron Jones. I love that matchup when a running back is on a linebacker. So we're going to have man. He tries to go with Jones. Jones gives him a little stutter step, wide open, touchdown Vikings, and they take the lead. And then the cherry on top is right here. The best play in football as a quarterback who is mobile, the read option. This is his read. This guy's going to crash. McCarthy's going to go outside. But I want you guys to watch something that is a underrated thing when running the football. Watch how he follows his block in Hawkinson. Hawkinson lays a great block here, and McCarthy waits, and then goes into the end zone. He follows Hawkinson all the way, and he goes in scot-free. And that is just a great thing that J.J. McCarthy did last night, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do the rest of the season and the rest of his career. Wait, hold on. I'm getting an ESPN alert. Tyler, over to you on more ESPN.
It's me calling Jack, and listen here. ESPN has been scrambling over the past few years with viewership struggles and losing out on streaming rights to events like UFC pay-per-views. But if you just started paying attention to them this year, then you never would have guessed that just a few years ago, the company was laying off major talent while trying to make budget cuts. In 2022-23, ESPN was at rock bottom. Their parent company Disney decided to cut billions from their budget, and as a result, they had to lay off major talent like Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, RG3, and Sam Ponder. Understandably, people were upset, especially when around that same time, it was announced that Pat McAfee and his show would be moving to ESPN for a whopping $85 million. However, this move would just prove to be the beginning of ESPN's 2025 resurgence. It was clear as soon as McAfee stepped foot on the set of College Game Day that he would be the replacement for the legendary Lee Corso. And McAfee has been a major hit with fans, as his kicking segment has become an iconic part of the show every week as fans tune in to see if a random college student makes a field goal to win thousands of dollars. But ESPN didn't stop there. After a quiet 2024, it was announced in August of 2025 that they purchased the streaming rights to WWE premium live events for $1.6 billion, making it so that major WWE events like WrestleMania will be streamed in the US exclusively on ESPN+. But the spending spree continued on, because just a few days later, ESPN announced that they purchased NFL Network, including the extremely popular NFL Red Zone. As a result, ESPN gave up 10% of their company to the NFL, but in return they got NFL Red Zone and the NFL Fantasy app. This move has already brought in major traffic to ESPN, as fans tuned in this past Sunday to catch all the games live with Scott Hansen on Red Zone and to check in on the fantasy football teams on the now combined NFL and ESPN Fantasy app. But if you thought ESPN was done, then you are mistaken, because right now, ESPN and MLB are in deep talks on a deal that would allow ESPN to stream midweek out-of-market games. Now, this deal has not been finalized yet, so who knows what it ends up looking like. But if all things go to plan, we could see this deal go into effect as soon as the 2026 MLB season. Regardless of what ends up happening with that deal, the other acquisitions from ESPN have already been paying off, which has me thinking, Emma, when is Media Crossroads going to jump in on the spending spree?
An excellent question, Tyler. I'm going to start making some calls. Now it's time for everyone's favorite segment. Playmakers Charlie Marshall has the top 5 plays for us this week. Take it away, Charlie.
Thank you, Emma. There were some phenomenal plays this week, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. At number 5, we have DeAndre Hopkins, the Ravens wide receiver, turning back the clock. Look at that grab. That is vintage D-Hop right there. Bills fans, don't worry, as the Ravens would blow a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, helping the Bills pick up their first win of the season. We got to watch this catch one more time. Oh, come on, man. That's good stuff from D-Hop. Number 4, tennis, the U.S. Open. Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner match up in the final as Alcaraz tries to pick up his second U.S. Open championship, and he does, courtesy of this play right here. Watch this. Now one backhand. The second one makes it so much sweeter. Oh, that's just touch right there. Number 3, Padres, Reds. Tyler Stevenson tries to park one in right field. Fernando goes up and brings it back. That's good stuff from Tatis. The best part is watch us, his reaction. He can't believe it. He's in awe at his own play. He goes way up and way over to bring this one back. Number 2, we're going back to the NFL, back to Sunday. Jared Goff tries to find his rookie. Why not? Tesla coming down with it. They actually ruled this one incomplete, but don't worry. They reviewed it. They got it right. You can see here, Isaac Tesla goes up 1 foot, 2 feet. That's just gross. And number 1, volleyball. Texas, Louisville. You thought this dig was nice. Watch this. Not 1, but 2 Longhorns into the crowd. Ramsey Gary with the hustle makes it all the way back, helping the Longhorns pick up that point en route to the 5-set win. Now, Emma, I've heard us Playmakers also played some volleyball this week. How'd that go?
Thanks, Charlie. And while the plays might not be top 5 worthy, it is still worth watching. Intramurals are back in full swing after starting last week, and that means so is our Playmakers mic'd up. This week, we take you over to the sand volleyball courts. Take a look.
It's another day, so it means another round of intramural sports. We're on the sand volleyball court today. I have Eli Greenwald, Zach Newkirk, and Lauren Ritchie. We're gonna be playing some volleyball for you guys, and let's see how it goes. Yeah, Maddie!
On the board! On the board! Okay, we're on the board.
We did not get shut out.
I thought I was about to get it.
Okay, we don't move a lot. We kind of stay in our one spot. Yes! That was not on purpose, but it worked.
Just guys.
Oh!
We might not win a game.
No, we probably
We might not. Yeah. All right, what's the game plan?
Everybody, how do we feel? That was set one.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
I'm not mad.
There were some bright spots. There were some bright spots.
What we have to do, we got to do more footwork, okay? We
Yeah.
got to move our feet. I'm talking about you stick in the mud. I need
Hey,
you.
I need to move too. Instead of just.
I need no arm reaches. I want you to move the feet, then set
Get
yourself.
under it.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is Coach Noble right here.
Oh no.
Great set it out.
I didn't touch it. I think you did not touch it.
No, that was good.
Did you?
You got a point on that.
Over. What the is going on?
Okay, so Emma Stanfield is mic'd up. Hi guys, I'm the videographer. Guys, 1911. Do we think they're gonna win?
Nope.
Oh my. Was that Emma? Oh, Emma. Oh, Emma. 23-13. They got 2 points left. Wow. That was amazing. You're like, you gotta hit the ball that way.
If you're a playmaker and you haven't signed up for volleyball, sign up because we suck. So we really need all the help we can get.
We need
hey,
help.
Softball and volleyball start soon, so we're coming for the. Or not, this is not volleyball. Softball and football start soon, so we're coming for those.
Mahale, back to you. Oh!
You can catch that full video on our Instagram. That's all for this week's edition of Playmakers. Be sure to follow us on social media at PlaymakersKU to find all our content on the sports world as we see it. Stay tuned for KUJH on Thursdays and Run It Back on Monday afternoons and early Friday mornings for all the game results happening over the weekend. Playmakers will be back here live in the studio next Friday. And remember, it's not about the game you played, but the plays you made. Rock chalk, and we'll see you next time.